More than 10 million men have had vasectomies, but each year doctors hear from men who wish they hadn't had the operation. Their financial circumstances have changed, or their family situation has changed. Death of a child, remarriage, for a variety of reasons. About 500,000 men every year seek to have their vasectomies reversed, turned around. Until recently, there wasn't much of a chance for them, hardly any chance at all. But that's changed now thanks to advances in microsurgery. Jessica Savage is in the studio with us tonight, and she has the latest. Welcome back.
Thank you, Tom. Change is a very key word in this. There's been a lot of change, and very quickly. Back 10 years ago, those doctors who attempted the reverse vasectomies had a success rate of only about 20 to 30%. Well, today, more and more men are seeking reversals as the circumstances and the attitudes change in this country. Well, very fortunately for them, these new techniques of microsurgery have pushed the chances of success up to 90%. That is due in very large measure to one Dr. Sherman Silber of St. Louis, who took the time to train himself in microsurgery. He became a pioneer, applying the new microsurgery techniques to the old problems of sex and reproduction. These children are a miracle of modern technology. When Richard was 26, he had a vasectomy. 2 years later, he got a divorce and then married Janet. They wanted to have children together. He went to a local urologist who attempted a reversal. It failed.
Our hearts just sunk because we thought, God, this is it. Now where do we go? And at that point on, it was just almost a desperate situation until...
Eventually, a desperate situation was saved by modern microsurgical techniques. It is easy to understand why Richard's first operation, using conventional surgery, failed when you realize the minuscule size of the structures involved, realize just how small they are. These are live sperm. When they leave the testicle where they are produced, they travel through the epididymis. It is 20 feet long, but only covers the distance of 1 inch. The sperm then pass into the vas deferens. That is where a vasectomy is performed. To reconnect the vas, it is necessary to join its inner canal, which is only 1/100th of an inch in diameter, and then connect the outer muscle, which is 1/8 of an inch in diameter. With the aid of a microscope, that is now possible. It is even possible to connect the vas to the epididymis, which usually is damaged when sperm, having nowhere to go, back up and cause blowouts and perforations. Richard was fortunate. His second reversal operation was done only 2 years after his vasectomy, so there was no pressure buildup or damage to the epididymis.
I felt in my heart, I'm going to have some children. I just got to. And we both flew out together. Janet flew with me and had the operation, and we took the first test, and it was real good. And then the second test, it was good, and then we began to feel really good, and it wasn't much longer.
4 months later.
4 months later, and we had.
I was pregnant with the first one. Yeah.
There are very few doctors who perform microsurgical vasectomy reversals. So anywhere from 200 to 300 patients from all over the country come here to St. Louis to the office of Dr. Sherman Silber.
Fisher, how are you?
Dr. Silber, using microsurgical techniques, has performed over 1,000 vasectomy reversals. His success rate is about 90%. With conventional surgery, it is never better than 30%. Dr. Silber has tried to spread the word in several books, the latest of which will be published in June. Considering his scientific publications and incredible success, there is surprisingly little knowledge of his microsurgical techniques and even some resistance within the medical community.
This is a fellow who had 3 children, and his wife just ran away from it all about 8 years ago. They married young, and he's keeping the 3 children, and he got remarried about 5 years ago. It took him this long to decide they really would like to have more kids. Typical sloppy vasectomy. There's the stitches on the abdominal. Oh, this is pretty. Let me get this forceps and show you. This is the vas deferens here on the abdominal side, okay, and there's the stitch where it's been tied, and this is the stitch on the testicular side. So there's healthy vas, and there's healthy vas. In this case, there's a large segment of vas that's been removed, so we have a big gap to bridge. All right, now we're going to swing the microscope into place, and now we're actually going to see what everything truly looks like. We bring the 2 ends right next to each other in juxtaposition, and I flip the microscope to higher magnification, and I'm ready to start sewing now. So we've got a beautiful first initial bite in the mucosa. The stitch is just through there perfectly, and that's critical.
It is painstaking work. The needle and thread, all but invisible to the naked eye, have to be manufactured together. For a skilled surgeon to master the hand-eye coordination, it takes months of practice with the microscope.
It's inconceivable that anyone could attempt to get a proper reconnection without really seeing. It would be like a blind man trying to do surgery to try to put together that inner lining without the benefit of this kind of magnification. You can get the impression by looking on the outside that sutures are being tied, but you really can't see what is going on unless you're down the microscope. Okay, here it is from the side, maybe. The outer muscle is relatively easy.
To Dr. Silber, it's easy. He seems to relish tough situations. 3 years ago, he took on the unusual case of Paul and Joan Koblis.
I had my tubal ligation done 7 years ago. When I was married to my first husband, we made a mutual decision to not have any more children than the 3 boys that we had. I had wanted to have another baby very much, but that decision is one that has to be made together.
Paul, too, in his previous marriage, had decided that 2 children were enough. And so in 1971, he had had a vasectomy. When he and Joan married and wanted to have children of their own, they tried to find help.
The doctors that I had consulted had not heard of Dr. Silber's work. At least they did not recommend him. The type of advice we received from them was, don't bother to try. Your chances are less than 3%. That sort of advice.
Eventually, Joan read about Dr. Silber in a Newsweek magazine article and contacted the Mayo Clinic. The clinic recommended his work, and Joan set up an appointment. Since restoration of her fertility was more questionable, she was operated on first.
I remember waking up in the recovery room, and Dr. Silber was saying that he knew that it was successful. He could tell when he did the surgery that it was a success.
Paul's operation was also successful, and 8 months ago, Joan gave birth to Daniel.
This kind of case is exciting in a way because everybody told us we were crazy for taking on such a case where we're not only reversing the husband, but reversing the wife also. Too many obstacles, and in fact, their local doctors even were very skeptical about it. And now they're enthusiasts, and they're excited about microsurgery, and that's kind of an exciting feeling.
You first performed this particular operation in 1975. There have been a lot of intervening years since then. Doctors could have picked up on it. Why have they not, by and large?
I guess the problem is that information is sometimes slow to disseminate. We have published volumes of scientific articles in the leading scientific journals, but the problem is often many doctors are so busy that they may not always have time to read the journal every month, and it requires a whole new surgical technique and discipline. It requires practice. 6 months to 2 years of practice are necessary before you can really do this technique accurately. I operated on 1,000 rats before I felt that I could really confidently try this sort of surgery on humans.
Not many doctors are willing or able to invest that kind of time. That is why so many doctors persist in advocating the old technique. In 1975, Dr. Mark Goldstein spent a month observing Dr. Silber operate. He is training himself in the microsurgical technique and is also aware of resistance within the medical community. He calls microsurgery a young man's game.
I'd say the main reason for resistance is that it's extremely difficult surgery. Most surgeons who are already established are not willing to take a year or 2 years out of their practice to go into the laboratory and learn to do these procedures. So most of the people who are getting into microsurgery now are people like myself who are either in training or just coming out of training and are willing to invest the time in the laboratory on a research project in order to master the technique.
We've seen horror stories. We've seen some patients who have lost a testicle, and one patient who literally became a eunuch from this kind of surgery being performed inexpertly and inadvertently tying off the blood supply.
There are doctors that attempt microsurgical procedures without adequate training, and most become quite discouraged and disgusted and give up after their first try. Unfortunately, the operating room of the human being is probably not the best place to learn this type of procedure.
After all you have seen, do you believe that vasectomy really should not be undertaken because life is so changeable?
Well, I don't feel that, because everything is a risk, and certainly vasectomy is about the most convenient and most successful and safest method of birth control. And the only problem really with the vasectomy, as I see it, is the permanence of it. One could argue, because we have such good success now with reversibility, maybe we should consider it a reversible approach. Unfortunately, we can't, because one, we can't guarantee success. We have these problems of pressure. It's a big, involved operation, and I just don't see this as a routine, reversible method of birth control.
There is still a lack of information and a lot of misinformation about vasectomies as well as vasectomy reversals. But in some cases, at least, a seemingly hopeless situation can have a happy ending.
Now we have 2, and we have another one on the way, and growing family.
Yeah.
It's something that I would never give up. You know, I love my children, and I don't know how I could have ever thought I could have done without children. I would never give it up.